Greetings and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Gyesie, Shamanic Leadership Coach here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks understand the trauma-based roots of their limiting self-beliefs and how to take inspired action to live resonant lives right here, right now. Today we're going to talk a bit about the inner critic, healing the narcissistic wound and reclaiming your true self. The inner critic, healing the narcissistic wound and reclaiming your true self. And this is because you've probably heard the voices in your head telling you that you're not good enough. Inner critic, that you're failing. Inner critic, that you will never be enough. And all of these voices may make you feel like you're crazy or broken. But the truth is, those voices are not you. Those are voices of the ghosts of your abusers. And now we're going to get into how to disabuse this and claim yourself back. So let's describe what this inner critic is. In academic psychology, particularly, the inner critic is referred to as a critical internalized object, a psychological structure formed during developmental stages, child developmental stages. And in fact, a well-noted British pediatrician and psychoanalyst, Winnicott, described how false selves form in childhood as survival adaptations to environments that lacked attunement or were outright hostile. In other words, when you were raised by narcissistic caregivers, whether you knew that they were or not, i.e. parents who demanded perfection or invalidated your feelings or punished you for autonomy, your authentic self becomes a threat to their control. In fact, research from Dr. Christine Courtois on complex trauma confirms that the inner critic is a mechanism of internalized abuse, meaning the child learns to preemptively criticize themselves to avoid external attack. This is pure survival coding. And you learn to attack yourself first to feel safe, you see. But the truth about this from a spiritual perspective, particularly with Hermeticism, Buddhism, and energy medicine, reveal that the inner critic is not just psychological, which it is an energetic implant. Specifically, in Buddhist thought, the kleshas, mental defilements like doubt and self-hatred, are seen as obstructions to the realization of your Buddha nature. And the inner critic is a klesha engineered through trauma. In Hermetic law, for example, you think specifically about the principle of mentalism, all is mind, or all is mental. External oppression become internalized thought form constructs. In other words, what you cannot fight on the outside moved inside to dominate you from within. You see? And further, in Christian scripture, the term accuser, kategoros in Greek, refers to Satan, the voice that constantly condemns. Constantly. And Revelations 12:30, from a Christian perspective, states that for the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. Your inner critic is an accuser implanted by your earliest experiences of spiritual warfare. This is just like the Sitra Atra, the other side in Kabbalistic thoughts. These are the forces of distortion that create spiritual separation and fragmentation. So when you think about the damaging effects of the inner critic, let's be clear. It destroys self-confidence and self-trust. And this is particularly the reason why the narcissist targeted you in this way, to dim your light and destroy your self-trust and self-efficacy. It sabotages your manifestations, because how can you manifest positively when you have an inner critic that's manifesting negative outcomes? It prevents love from rooting inside you, because the inner critic is rooted in hate. So if you're self-hating, how can you be loving, self-loving, therefore truly loving to others? And it anchors you to narcissistic paradigms even after physical escape. In fact, from a neuroscience perspective, it shows that chronic self-critique increases cortisol and reduces connectivity. Cortisol is a stress hormone and reduces connectivity in brain regions associated with self-compassion. In other words, your brain literally rewires itself around unworthiness. This is how powerful you are, whether you're conscious or not. And as a net result, your auric field weakens and you attract more energetic parasites, more toxic people, false teachers, sabotaging circumstances, and so on. So the bottom line is the inner critic is not protecting you. It is killing you quietly and efficiently. It really is. So how do you heal the inner narcissistic wound and dismantle this inner critic? Well, work with a coach like myself, and if I can be of help to you, type transform in the comment section or send me a message at nana@innermileage.com. Recognize that the inner critic is an invasive species, not your voice, right? And when you recognize and name it, this is not my voice, is the first step. Then, of course, self-compassion. Here I'm borrowing from the research done by Christine Neff. Shows that self-compassion activates the mammalian caregiving system of the brain, therefore lowering shame. And daily self-compassion exercises are not a luxury, they're actually emergency surgery. Then, of course, direct spiritual reclamation rituals like prayer, meditation, energy clearing, this all align you powerfully. Embodied healing practices, rooted in the knowledge that trauma is not just stored mentally, but it's in the nervous system. Therefore, things that help you to align your nervous system is really the path to go. Then, of course, your inner critic, right? Inner critic is create a new inner authority to counterbalance the role of the inner critic. And if you can shift from saying things to yourself about not being enough to being everything and being enough, is how you begin the process of reprogramming your mind and yourself. So it's important to realize that the inner critic is a remnant of psychological warfare waged on your developing soul. It really is. And it's the ultimate spell break to realize that you were whole before you were gaslit and before you believed you were broken. And your mission is not to fix yourself, it's to remember yourself. And the process of remembrance begins with mindful attention. Hey Siri, alarm off, confirmation. And realizing that you are not the voice of shame. You are the voice of freedom. And it's important to realize that this is not self-help. This is all about retrieving your soul, remembering who you were, going back to the base elements of the foundations of who your unconditioned self were. And know that the inner critic was installed in you so you become the resident enemy in your own life. You see, let me explain what I mean. No one outside you can hurt you. And you can only be hurt if you consent to being hurt. And you consent to being hurt when you do not have boundaries. And you do not have boundaries because you've been conditioned to give without receiving. And you've been conditioned to give without receiving because you were conditioned by a parent or a caregiver who themselves was conditioned, and this parent was triggered by your light. And you were conditioned because this parent was triggered by your natural independence, sovereignty, and innocence. And the reason they did that to you was to make you forget who you were in the same way they have forgotten who they are. Now, this is how the cycle becomes self-perpetuating, right? That all that has to be done is an implant of the original thought, and then you move on and manifest it yourself. If this resonates with you, if I can be of help to you, send me a message at nana@innermileage.com and realize there's absolutely no one like you, and all these things are happening to you to wake you up to the truth of your power. It's as simple as that. And once you wake up to the truth of your power, you become completely, unwaveringly unstoppable. If this resonated with you, do not forget to hit the notification bell so that you are notified anytime we post new videos. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, and tell someone about this channel. And know that Every step you take towards reclaiming your divine throne is how you defeat this inner critic. Stay fierce, stay free, stay you, and see you at the next video. All the best.